This is Eric Douglas. I'm going to give you a couple of tips today to show you a couple of different ways to do a drop D when playing guitar, to get yourself a little bit of a different sound and to make some interesting possibilities. So there's two basic ways to do it. The first is to just tune your lowest string down from an E to a D. Just like that. So now, when you play a D chord, you can play that lowest note. And it rings nice and loud with that low bass note included. There's a couple of disadvantages, however. That's if you want to play a G chord, now you have to leave off the bottom finger, because if you were going to play that bottom string on the same G voicing that you'd normally use, it now is actually, this note is now not a G, but it's an F, so it sounds like this. Which is not what you want. So instead you leave it off and you do this. And you can optionally play the lowest string or leave it silent. Playing it gives you a nice kind of low sound with the fifth note of the scale being voiced in the bottom, in the bass. And then you can leave it out like this. And so the lowest note actually ends up being the B, or the third note of the scale. So that's one of the reasons I don't like just tuning my guitar down. Of course, it's also a little bit of a pain to tune it down and tune it back up again after the song is over. Although there is one other thing that's nice to do, is when you want to play an E minor, you can actually just do this with your thumb. You can just do this. With the three lowest notes on your second fret there. That's your E minor, and then you can just go up the scale. It's kind of fun. But again, it's not my preference. My preference is to just leave the guitar tuned normally. And then put a capo upside down on the highest five strings like this. So I've got the capo now, it's upside down. If you use the kind of capo that doesn't have an open end, you can't do this, but you have to use that standard Kaiser capo with the kind of the alligator clip. So you put that on the lowest five strings, leaving that E note untouched. So now you can play that D chord the same way you did before, with the open string on the bottom. You can still hear that nice low bass note. Now, of course, since you've capoed up a step on the lowest strings, you're really playing an E chord, not a D chord. So you have to keep that in mind if you're playing a song that's either in the key of G, you're going to capo it up to a key of A or whatever. So the reason I really like this is because, first of all, it's really quick to do, and second, you can now play that G chord using your standard voicing. And now your G chord, which is really an A in this key, you can play that bass note. The downside, however, is that you can't play that E minor the way you were. The E, the low E, is really here because this is the string. So if you want to play an E minor, which is really an F sharp minor in this key, you would need to finger that string, which is almost impossible when you've got the capo in the way. So really the only way to do it is to leave that lowest string empty. Unsounded. So it's like this. That's your E minor. It's a little bit weak, so I don't use it a lot, but that's the way to do it when you're playing something that requires an E minor. And really that's about it. So that's my preference. There actually is a way to do it. There's a special capo that they make that's called a drop D capo, and it's got this notch right here. It's just a regular capo, but it's got this notch in the top, so that when you stick it on the normal way, it actually leaves that bottom string untouched. So you can do the same exact thing, like this. Same thing, and you can actually move it up to the fourth fret and play something using the key of C, because C is now E here. Again, this is still an E chord technically. We're just voicing in the key of C, which is nice. I don't tend to like these notch capos because they're very specialty don't necessarily need to want to carry an extra one around. And on some guitars, I found that they still touch the bottom string no matter what you do. This isn't quite long enough, so I don't really use that very often. Instead, I'll just use this one upside down. I've seen people double up on the capos, so if they want to play a song in the key of, say, B flat or something, they'll put a capo like here, and they'll put another one upside down using that upside down method, 2 steps up, or two frets up, I should say, just like that, and now you're playing, I think it's the key of B flat. So I've seen people do that. I don't really do it very often. It's kind of a lot to do to get set up for a song, but playing with the one capo is really quite handy. And so there you have it. There's your guitar tip. Enjoy.